Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. We're excited to kick off 2021 with our first event. So thank you. We are just gonna give folks a couple of minutes here at the top of the hour to log in. We had quite a number of registrations coming in for this important topic. So I think we'll probably have a bunch of people that are joining over the next minute or two. So we'll just give everyone a moment. I hope everyone was able to have good, even if they were quiet, holidays over the last few weeks, and welcome in what is hopefully going to be a better year. Okay, lots of folks filing in. Thank you everyone for joining. It is wonderful to see people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just gonna give people one more moment, I think, here before I officially kick things off. Okay, we'll probably have some more folks join, but we have an exciting event for you. So I'm thinking I will just go ahead and kind of kick us off and get us started here. So thank you everyone for officially joining. We are thrilled to bring you this event today. I'm Kelly Tuning. I am on the board of the Boston chapter. Love seeing all the faces that are joining today. Thrilled to kick off the year with you in this exciting event. We are developing a little bit of a cadence in our event, so I just thought I would kind of very quickly call attention to it. Last month we had conscious leadership as our topic, and this month we're bringing you then a practical, something that is meant to be very impactful for how you can apply the tenets of conscious capitalism in your life and in your business and in your organization. So we're doing that today with Cheryl Jones, and we're thrilled that she is joining us today and is she's the founder of the Mindful Path, and she was previously the director of mindfulness at Aetna, and you will see her enthusiasm and her passion for this topic today. So she's the perfect choice for our conscious leadership practical that we're having today. I'm just going to very briefly share a couple of slides here just so that I can give everyone, if they haven't already had exposure to the Boston chapter, let everybody know what our purpose and our vision is. So the Boston chapter, our purpose is to connect, educate, and inspire leaders and workers to consciously build businesses that positively impact the world. And then our vision is we will foster the fundamental transformation of capitalism to a healthy, balanced way of doing business for all people and the planet. And pressing the wrong buttons here. And then I always just like to give a quick shout out to our corporate members. I'm not going to name them all here by name, but you can see them, and we are just so grateful to them for their continued support of the chapter. We have a handful of folks from these companies that are with us here today, so it's wonderful to see those faces and to continue to have interaction with all of these companies. Couple of final housekeeping notes that I will just mention before I officially hand the mic over to Cheryl. So we are recording today's session so that you and others have the opportunity to view this after today's live session. And then we will have a couple of opportunities during the course of the session today where we can have some interaction. And so feel free to, in those cases, you can either unmute yourself to participate and ask questions or to respond to some of the questions that Cheryl has, or you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. So for those of you who may not be familiar, you go to the reactions tab and underneath the emojis, there should be the option to raise your hand. So feel free to do that in at those points in the conversation today that you might want to participate. Without further ado, Cheryl, I'd love to have you take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you everyone for making time in your day for this session. I've been looking forward to this ever since Kelly and I connected in the fall. It makes perfect sense to me because there's such an obvious connection between consciousness and mindfulness. And I think that, the values of conscious capitalism are so aligned with my own values and the values and my vision for the mindful path. So, with this alignment, it feels like such a privilege to be here with all of you, particularly during these very intense times. Yes, we're in a new year, but we're coming off of an extremely challenging year on, pretty much every level of our humanity, between the pandemic and the stress that's caused for people. Some have lost family members, lost people that they've known to this virus. The way that it's impacted our lives in really every imaginable way. Our political climate, the level of social unrest. We've really just gone from one crisis to the next over the last almost year. And so, as we start this new year, I think we're all yearning to kind of approach this year with a greater sense of balance and a greater sense of clarity on, what is being called for here. And in my own personal experience, my mindfulness practice has informed my life, really. My background is in exercise science, and I studied mindfulness-based stress reduction. I'm trained as a mindfulness teacher through the MBSR program. And I also have a certificate in spirituality. So I tend to take a very holistic approach with helping us to achieve a sense of well-being. So that's really what we're here to do today. I'm sure it's all front of mind for you as leaders, how you can lead your people, whether it's an organization or whether you're an entrepreneur and it's a handful of people, or you're leading a team, or you're leading a family. Whatever it is, I'm sure it's front of mind that your people are suffering right now. We all are. Emotionally, this is beyond what most of us have ever imagined having to live through. But I will say that today is all about you. I would be happy to come back or have a separate conversation about how you can bring mindfulness to your organization. But really and truly, today is all about your personal well-being. A few years ago, I wrote a book called Thriving When Your Cosmic Egg is Cracked, A Mindful Journey. And that is all about my own personal story with mindfulness and how it got me through the most difficult time of my life. And you're more than welcome to read that on my website, themindfulpath.com. But I'm really going to keep the focus here on all of you today. And so I guess my point for saying that is that I am not just teaching because I'm educated and I have a background and I have the training. I have lived this. And so when I share mindfulness, again, it always feels like an honor. And it's also coming from the experiences that I have had directly with this practice and how it has facilitated healing and transformation and rising up in my own life. So I always think it's helpful because, again, mindfulness is one of those words that, you're either drawn to it or you have an aversion to it. But since you're all here, I'm going to say you're drawn to it for one reason or another. And I guess the good news, bad news about mindfulness, and I experienced this even when I was developing and leading a strategy in a Fortune 50 company, that the bummer about mindfulness is that we've had to water it down and dilute it so that it was appropriate for the workplace, to the point that I don't even think we know what we're talking about anymore. And so today I'd like to kick off with a level setting of what mindfulness is, and then we'll do an actual practice so you can experience it for yourself. So mindfulness, the way that I define it is, it's a particular way of engaging in life. Mindfulness is not a thing that we do. It is a way that we are, a way that we show up, a way that we engage with ourselves, with each other, in our tasks, in our lives. So that's what I mean when I'm saying a particular way of engaging in life. And if we had to boil it down to 3 words, I would say present moment awareness. It's about cultivating present moment awareness. But even what does that mean? Because so often the mind is thinking about thoughts, thoughts about the future, thoughts about the past, and that's natural. That's just what the mind does. So let me just say that our goal is not to be awake and aware in the moment, every single moment of our lives. That is not what mindfulness is. That is not the point. But I will say that it is about, as often as is possible, seeing if we can be present for whatever is happening in this moment, the moment that we are in right now. Again, as human beings, we have busy minds, and the minds are oftentimes, especially these days, worrying, we're planning, problem solving, or we're reflecting on the past, we're remembering, we're replaying old tapes, woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? So the mind does this kind of future past dance. Meanwhile, the present moment, which actually is the only moment that we can be in charge of, keeps getting squeezed out. So mindfulness practice, mindfulness meditation starts with awareness of the breath. So we'll be doing this in just a few minutes. So if we wanted to bring all of our attention to the present moment and have that be the beginning of a practice, that's what we start with, awareness of breathing. So hopefully that's, it's a very simple, basic level set to kind of lead us into a practice now. So I think we could go to the next slide. I think that, oh no, wait, before we do that, let me just talk a little bit about the difference, because this is probably the biggest point of confusion of what is the difference between meditation and mindfulness. And so when we talk about a particular way of engaging in life, like how we go through the day, how we interact with each other, how we approach our tasks, that's sort of what we would call an informal practice, having those moments of awareness as we're going through the day. Meditation, mindfulness meditation, not just any meditation, because there are many, many kinds of meditation, but mindfulness meditation is an awareness practice. That's what makes it unique. I'm not going to say that it's better than other forms of meditation, because I haven't studied other forms of meditation. But in terms of stress reduction, mindfulness meditation is the one that has been researched. So if you're ever looking for research on mindfulness, you'll see that the mindfulness-based stress reduction program has always been the gold standard program by which most of the research that's out there follows. So that's what I'm going to be sharing here. And I'll just say that, again, meditation, there are many forms of meditation, just like there are many different styles of yoga or many different ways that we exercise. If we want to strengthen the heart, we're not going to lift weights, right? If you want to strengthen your heart, you're going to go out for a hike or a cross-country ski or a walk, right? If you want to cultivate the ability to be present in the moment, then you're going to practice mindfulness meditation. You're not going to do a visualization and float away to the beach. So mindfulness meditation is the one that I believe is the most appropriate for the workplace because it's actually a skill. And I'll talk more about that later. So at this point, we really are going to do a short practice. So I'd like to invite you to assume a purposeful posture here. Your eyes don't need to be open because you don't need to see me doing anything. You just need to be able to hear me. So a purposeful posture means that we feel our feet on the ground. So if the legs are crossed, uncrossing them, planting the feet on the ground, seeing if you can line up the knees so that they're at a 90-degree angle, heels under the knees, body is upright and dignified like a queen or a king. The hands are resting somewhere in the lap. The eyes are lowered and closed, whichever you prefer. And the crown of the head is lifted towards the sky. So this purposeful position actually sends a message to the body that we're doing something intentionally. And this is the beginning point. So just taking a moment to notice the change in your body posture and what it feels like to be sitting this way. Maybe feeling the feet on the floor, or the sensation of the chair underneath or behind the body. Maybe noticing any sounds in your space. And aware of just how you are right now. Maybe any other sensations in the body. Hunger or fullness or warmth or coolness. Or maybe noticing any thoughts going through the mind. Aware of any emotions that may be present. And just seeing if you can let everything be just as it is. Arriving in this moment without any judgments of how it should be, how it's supposed to be. And now finding your way to the breath. There's no breathing technique here. No need to change or manipulate the breath in any way. Just noticing that you're breathing. And noticing how the breath is. Maybe it's short or long or shallow or deep or choppy or smooth. There's no correct way to be breathing. Just beginning to follow the flow of the air as it moves in and out of the body. Maybe noticing how the air comes in cool and goes out warm. Noticing perhaps that space where the in-breath meets the out-breath. Noticing where you feel sensations of breathing. Maybe the air moving in and out at the nostrils and the upper lip. Or feeling the chest and ribs gently expand and contract. Maybe even sensing the abdomen rise and then sink. And just seeing if you can let your attention rest. Let the attention settle on the sensations of breathing wherever you feel them most clearly. And if the mind wanders off to something that happened earlier or something you need to do later, just notice. No need to block the thought out. Notice the thought. Let it go. And come back to the next breath in and the next breath out. As we come to the end of this practice, following 3 more cycles of breathing, being as present as is possible for each one. Transitioning now. And as you do this, just taking a moment to thank yourself for stopping, for making some time for your own well-being, and knowing that this place of awareness is always available to you because it's within you. So allowing the eyes to open if they were closed, just getting reacquainted within your space again. And maybe noticing how you feel right now. Thank you so much for that practice. So at this point, I'd like to invite us to check in. And so Kelly's going to break us into pairs. And I'd like you to consider this, filling in this blank, what I noticed was. And I'd like to invite you to reflect upon that just for a moment now on your own. What I noticed was. And the invitation here is to really speak or to share from your direct experience with the practice that we just did with a partner. So we'll break out for just 2 minutes, so maybe about a minute for each person, just to introduce yourself and maybe say where you're from and to share what I noticed was.
Great. So I will open the rooms now and you'll just have a couple minutes and then we'll bring you back together. Here we go. Welcome back, folks. Hopefully you were able to connect. We'll just give people another moment to come back in here. And Cheryl, I'll go ahead and share the screen again so you can pick up where.
Yeah, we can go back one, Kelly. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for being open to sharing. I'm wondering if that was something, that you've ever done before, a meditation practice, and then talk to somebody about your experience. So I'd actually like to hear from a few people, from our larger group here. So if you would like to share, you can take yourself off mute or raise your hand and Kelly can help you. But I'd just like to hear, from a few people about what your experience was while you were doing that short practice. Anybody feeling brave?
I can be brave.
Great, thank you.
It felt really good. And what I shared with my partner, Lauren, is what I noticed is that this morning, as I was thinking about what I needed to do today, I wanted to spend some time meditating. And I did things for the family. I did some work things. I did my physical therapy. I didn't meditate. And so what I noticed is I actually want to be more disciplined about putting this into my life.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ellen. And in the next couple of slides, I've got something that I think will be able to help you with that, which I'm sure is a very common experience for all of us. We don't have as much to do, right? A lot of us don't have somewhere to go. Many people are working from home, but yet even those 5 minutes seem to be a challenge these days. So we'll talk more about that later. Thank you. Anybody else? What you noticed was?
I'd like to raise my hand. I just don't know how to do it.
Go for it. We can hear you just fine.
Great. Well, it's interesting. What I noticed was I meditate. I try to meditate daily. Don't always get to it, but it usually takes me a good 5 to 10 minutes to get into that zone, into that space. And today with your, maybe it was your voice, I don't know, but I felt like I was able to get into that meditative space much more quickly than I normally am.
Well, thank you for sharing, JP. And I can tell you that from when I had gone through my mindfulness-based stress reduction training and even my teacher training, I listened to my teachers for over a year. It took me a long time to develop a practice, a skillful practice that I could do by myself. So I think, again, you're not alone, and I've got some solutions for you in just a minute. And maybe hear from one more person. What I noticed was.
I'm raising my hand.
Great, thanks, Leslie.
What I thought was interesting is when you said to settle your breath, settle your mind on a part of your breath that you feel like you can settle down to, because I have the Breathe app on my watch, and so every once in a while I'll just stop and breathe. And I didn't really know how. I just followed the little dots, in and out. But I found that that was also settling, to tell your mind to settle, settles it more. I agree with JP that it kind of, your voice helped us fast. And it was very scary to talk to another person, but Sabrina was fantastic. And it was very good we were talking about apps like Calm. And so I liked that segment too, of pairing with someone was also very excellent.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And it's not easy because, again, when we talk about meditation, we really aren't sure. It would be like if you never exercised a day in your life. and you went into a gym for the first time and you saw all the equipment and you're like, what the heck do I do with this stuff? How do you even, what's a treadmill? What's a bench press? That's what it's like for people wanting to learn how to meditate and how to make it part of their lives. So again, thank you for your willingness to share and be vulnerable, with a partner. Everyone, thanks to everyone. So let's go to the next slide. And I just want to briefly make a connection. And I'm also going to do a time check here. So we're doing okay here. This we could spend an hour or more on. I just want to show you this slide because this is my philosophy of wellness. I believe that if we wish to create greater health and well-being in all areas of our lives, whether that's with our spiritual well-being, our mental wellness, our sense of social connectedness, our emotional well-being, our physical health, that having a mindfulness meditation practice like we just did is the secret sauce. It is the core to behavior change. And then around this circle is the big circle. And these are the attitudes of mindfulness. And again, we could spend a day unpacking these. And I won't here now, but I just wanted to show you this because to me, what we just did is the beginning. In order for us to create a greater sense of health and well-being, to help ourselves through this time of crisis and to elevate one another through these challenging times, it's not just about stopping and breathing. It's not just about doing one thing or another thing. It's lots of tiny practices or habits that come together and have a cumulative impact. So I'll leave that for now and we'll go to the next slide. And just like to invite you to, you could take a picture of this if you like, or you could just write it down in a notepad. But yeah, let's go back to this one, starting a meditation practice. And so I'd just like to walk us through this. And so I can hear the curiosity and the openness to getting started with a mindfulness practice. And some of you already have been starting to meditate. And so I think it's really helpful, just like we approach any other change that we wish to make in our lives, to have a plan. And it doesn't mean that we have to stick exactly to the plan. I always say, have a plan, but hold it lightly. But these are some things that you can consider. First, what's your why? Why would this be important to you? How do you think your life would be different if you had a mindfulness practice? When, where, for how long? Is there somebody in your life that that can support you with this? Just like maybe you have someone who you'll go for a socially distanced walk with to keep moving. Maybe there's somebody who can also support with this, somebody who has been wanting to develop a meditation practice, but also needs a little bit of help. And then look at your calendar, look at your life, and maybe even book the time for yourself, even if it's just 5 minutes. And I know you've already talked about some resources and some apps that folks are using. And believe me, I think apps can be really helpful. I also think having live interaction, virtually, of course, because that's all we can do these days, is also very helpful. So that's about getting started with the meditation practice. So hopefully that helps you to help yourself. And we'll go to the next slide. And I'd like to invite us to do one more breakout. And the way I think about mindfulness is that, again, the meditation practice, the mindfulness meditation practice, because it's an awareness practice, this helps us to be present for however we are with ourselves in our practice. It helps us in how we show up in our lives. It helps us to be, more effective. It helps us to be more compassionate. It helps us to see more clearly. When we are racing around in fight or flight mode because we're afraid or we're worried and, we're trying to solve for all these problems at the same time, it's really difficult to see straight. So having a mindfulness meditation practice and training our brains to stop can be such a powerful gift that we give ourselves. It can really help us to do whatever it is that we need to do, because I'm sure your to-do list is probably just as long, if not longer than ever, because everything is a thing now. Like the things that used to be simple, all of a sudden we have to put all this thought into that, the mental gymnastics that it takes just to get through the day. So having a mindfulness meditation practice to me informs everything we do, as well as how we are, how we show up. So I'd like to invite you to just take a moment to write down on a notepad some things that you really believe are such a priority right now that you would like to have some clarity on, things that you need to do. And also some ways that you would like to be. Maybe there are some certain, relationships at work, or a certain team, or certain strategic priorities, certain things that you really want to show up a little bit differently for. So I'd like to invite you to maybe just write down one thing, like one priority, something that you will do, that you wish to do, and then one tiny way that you would like to be. And just take a moment to reflect on that. And maybe after this short mindfulness practice that we just did, maybe seeing that there could be another way to do something, or another way to show up, if we gave ourselves the space to stop. And at this point, Kelly's going to break us into pairs again. And again, I'll thank you in advance for your willingness to be vulnerable. We're all human beings, and we're all struggling right now. And I think that by giving voice, helping ourselves to give voice to the things that we see for ourselves in this new year, makes it even a more powerful intention, and we can hold space for each other. And so I'd like to invite you also to, when you're listening to your partner, to listen mindfully, to listen with your heart mind, if you will. Listen with your whole self, not so much just at an intellectual level, but to really see if even virtually you can have a sense of what it means to hold space for one another.
Great, I'll open the rooms now. And Cheryl, you don't have to leave. You can just stay right here, actually. So I will open it for everybody else. Cheryl, the breakout room functionality, I couldn't take you out, and so that I just left you in a room by yourself. So there's no one that's left by themselves. So I was just doing it that way so that you could stay here.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I'm thinking maybe just to give them, because I'm realizing where we are with time, and that it's 2:41 and we're to end at 2:45, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
we'll just give them a couple minutes.
Yeah, to just maybe give them 2 minutes. I was thinking it was going to be a little bit longer, but just so we have time to
Sure thing.
bring an end.
We have some folks joining.
Was there somebody
DJ.
Was there supposed to be somebody in my room? Because there wasn't on either occasion.
Oh no, I'm so sorry, Diane.
That was the same with me too, Kelly. No problem though.
Oh dear, sorry about that, guys. Looks like, yeah, I'm looking at the rooms now, and it looks like they didn't join. So my apologies.
No worries.
That didn't work out for you too. Since we just have another minute, that we'll just let you guys hang out here with Cheryl and I while everybody else finishes up.
Yeah, and it's really a time to even, use the time for yourself. It's a big question. Like that could be a retreat. What do I want to do and how do I want to be? We could spend a whole retreat on that together. So they're questions that you can continue, and hopefully people will continue to reflect on. They're things I ask myself every day. What do I want to do? How do I want to show up? So it's not like this is the only chance.
Okay, maybe I'll just give everybody the 1-minute warning and people can start to wrap up their conversations, and that'll give us just a minute to wrap up then when everybody comes back, Cheryl.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, here's everybody back in.
You want more time?
I know, we're trying to get this into a 45-minute session, and so it's tough to balance, but welcome back, everyone.
Well, we just have maybe 1 or 2 more slides as we're wrapping up. And, as I was just saying to folks, those are really big questions. What do I want to do? How do I want to be? And so my invitation is that you will continue to reflect on those questions and maybe hold them in your mind, your heart, as you go through the day. If this conversation felt meaningful to you and you would like to continue it, some kind of a conversation, I'd like to invite you to consider joining Thriving Circles. And you can learn more about those at my website. And we'll just go to the last slide so that you have my contact information. I have a website. It's called themindfulpath.com. And again, you can learn about my services, which include these Thriving Circles, where there are very small groups of 9 people that meet for 7 sessions over a 3-month period. And we're going to focus on going around the wellness wheel, as I showed you earlier, with mindfulness at the center. So if that sounds interesting to you, please feel free to reach out. And in the meantime, thank you so much, everyone, for being here today for this conversation, and wish you many more mindful moments as you go through this day, this week, this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cheryl. And just as a very last word, I wanted to give a quick plug for our next events. You're getting double goodness this month because we had the practical today for conscious leadership, kind of following up from last month. But then we're also going to have an event at the end of this month, January 27th. That's going to be the president of Conscious Capitalism, Inc., Alexander McCaubin, and one of the CCI board members is going to come and talk about kind of really big picture, what's the state of the movement for conscious capitalism and the growing coalition of organizations that are moving capitalism into a much more conscious state. So that will be really exciting. And then the practical following that, Bob, our president, and myself actually are going to do a how-to on an overview of becoming a conscious company, and just starting to give you a little bit of taste for some of those tools and exercises and methodologies that we're trying to be providing this year in these practicals. So that date will be announced in the next probably few days, and you can sign up for that. So thank you everyone for your time today. Loved having you, and good to see you in the new year. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. So thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. That was great, Cheryl. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
all.
much, Kelly. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Super grateful, and would love to continue to, find ways to keep the conversation going in any way that you think would be meaningful to people.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate this session, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Be well.
All right, you too. Bye.